sweep by this area right here, my instruction guide. I'm sure a lot of you know what that is. I was at my annual physical with my doctor. We got something going on here in the sink. I don't know what this is. Trying to get this to go away. Basically, to me, it was like a giant station wagon. Linda had one. This is, 20, not quite 20 years ago, but she had one that she'd bought used. It was after her and I had moved apart. From what I remember, she told me a story that shortly after she sold it, the people that she sold it to got back in touch with her. Not to say thank you, but I guess it, like, from what Linda described. Okay, come on. We can walk. There we go. There we go. Oh, you can see they had a dumpster here for like a month. And when they pulled it out, holy smokes. Should have seen the mud tracks. Hi everyone, good morning. I hope y'all are doing great today. We are looking pretty hazy today. We've been in the 90s. It's 8:45. It's humid, it's warm. Yesterday was the day. We hit 94 yesterday, and then today I think we're gonna break today, and it's gonna drop back down in the low 80s. So I think we've got some rain coming today. After we get done walking around the block here and doing some business, we're gonna jump in the car and I'm gonna ride up to visit my friends, my friend Tim that works at the Ford shop, and then my friend my friend Tim that works at the Lincoln shop, and then my friend Harry that works right next door at the Ford store. They call it the store. I don't know. It's the shop to me. They're both master techs. Tim is Lincoln and Harry is Ford, and they work for the same dealership. That dealership owns like that whole block. They have Lincoln, Ford, Mazda, Toyota, Dodge, Chrysler. Does Chrysler still make vehicles? I don't know. I would have to look that up. I think Chrysler might be. Are they done? There was the Chrysler Pacifica, which was basically, to me, it was like a giant station wagon. Linda had one. This is, 20, not quite 20 years ago, but she had one that she'd bought used. It was after her and I had moved apart, but we were still, always friends. And she had a Pacifica, and it was just this big giant, blob mobile. And when she sold that, from what I remember, she told me a story that shortly after she sold it, the people that she sold it to got back in touch with her. Not to say thank you, but I guess it, like, from what Linda described, it broke in half after she sold it to them. And, like, Linda didn't know anything. It's not like she knew that it had a problem and was gonna fail. She just sold the car. But I'll always remember that. She's like, David, those people called me and it broke in half. And I'm like, what? She's like, yes, it broke in half, David. This is my Linda impersonation. Yes, David. Why are you staring at me? Do you hear Linda coming out of me? He just froze and started staring at me because that was the wrong voice. I'm sorry. I'll stop doing my Linda. I guess he doesn't like hearing Linda. Okay, she's a nice lady. Yes, she is. She's very nice. Come on, let's walk. Come on, puppy. So that's what I remember of Chrysler. Come on, left. This way. Come on. That's what I remember of Chrysler. And of course the 300, which was a awesome car. I always loved those things. That's what, like a black Chrysler 300 It's like straight out of RoboCop, you know? Maybe not that exact movie, but you know what I mean. It was always the futuristic car that looked very menacing and square lines and not blobby, especially, you know, in the 90s when those movies would come out where everything was a blob car, and then they'd have these angular futuristic cars, which lo and behold came to fruition not very many years later. Of course, they couldn't fly, but that's what the Chrysler 300 always reminded me of, was the movie makers' vision of what future vehicles were going to look like. And they were, you know, they were pretty much dead on. They just happened a lot sooner than they thought. So yeah, we're going to stop up there. I've got to set up an appointment for Mom's car. She's due for her oil change and, you know, just check everything over. Come on, buddy, this way. Check everything over and check her tires and all that good stuff. And we always take it to my friend Tim, even though it's a Ford and he works at the Lincoln. Good morning. Even though it's a Ford and he works at the Lincoln shop, we've always taken it to Tim. You know, I've known Tim for 18 years, and so he's always done the work on my vehicles. Obviously, remember I told you I used to have, my daily driver was a Lincoln that I bought specifically. I bought it used specifically because Tim worked at the Lincoln shop, so I bought a Lincoln so that he could be familiar with it and always do the work for me. And then, like, even when Dalynn, we had like her Mazda. The Mazda had a Ford engine in it, so we used to take her Mazda there for its regular routine maintenance, and Tim would take care of that for us. Any chance I get to go visit my buddy Tim, I take advantage of that. There's going to be some changes up there. I know that the order writer, Eddie, who I've known for years from, you know, visiting Tim up at the shop, and he retired and moved to Florida, so he's gone. And from everything I know, Tim is the last of the old guard mechanics there. All the rest of them are new, young guys. Tim is the last remaining. Like when I first started visiting Tim at the shop years back, it was all guys his age, you know, and you know, many of them, they've retired, they've moved on. Most of them retired or had disability issues. That's a tough life, being a mechanic. You know, Tim's told me, like, in the mornings when he wakes up, he's just, you know, aching from top to bottom and has to get himself loosened up, and because that is tough work. It's, you might not think it, but holy smokes. A lot of guys end up with injuries, not injuries, but just, you know, their bodies get worn out from doing all that heavy work all those years, and they end up going out on disability. As soon as we start back towards the house, it's me pulling him. When we're leaving the house, it's him pulling me. So if we could just come to a happy middle ground there, buddy, I would be so happy. All right, so I've got to now mix him up we've got fresh chicken that Grandma cooked him, a whole new batch for Mr. Spoiled Pants over here. So the warm water, the fresh chicken mixed in with his kibble, he gets his hip and joint supplements, and then we're gonna jump in this old girl sitting right here and head on up to the shop. There we come. Hello. Okay, there you go, buddy. What a beautiful day we have out here. It's mid-afternoon. I've got the window open here and just a beautiful little breeze coming through. No rain today in New York. Really beautiful out here. So I had a doctor's appointment with my dermatologist, just my annual appointment. I go there once a year to get a prescription renewed. So I got that taken care of. Had her look at a couple of new and interesting spots that I have noticed on my body over the last year since I saw her last, my dermatologist. One of them is right here. I don't know. you would have seen it in some videos. Like if I razor shaved, it would clip that little whatever it is and make it bleed, and I would have a little blood spot there. You know, not quite as nice as the Marilyn Monroe, the old black spot there, but it would be a little blood spot until it healed again. And so my dermatologist, she looked at it with her loupe and she said, oh, it's a, I forget what she called it. And she said, yeah, we usually just freeze those off. Do you want to do that? We can do it right now. And I'm like, yeah, sure. So she went and got, I mean, she was literally gone like 4 seconds. She went out the door, came right back in. She had this can of its liquid nitrogen. And she said, it hurts a little bit. Have you ever had this done? I said, no. She said, it hurts a little bit. It's not a big deal. So she said, you ready? And I'm like, yeah. So she just, you know, and she said, we have to do it twice. So she did it the one time. And it had a little bit of a kind of like a stingy kind of feeling to it when she was doing it. And then we waited 30 seconds. And then she said, okay, here we go again. And she did it again. And she said, that's it. So what it does is, she said it might swell up a little, and I think I can see that it's got a little swelling to it. She said that little area will, the skin will basically die, and then it will just flake off, and she said that'll be the end of it. It won't come back. Took care of that, and then I have this other little bump like on the back of my shoulder back here that I've noticed has just, you know, I noticed it, and then like if I'm rubbing my shoulder or something like that, I could feel this little bump, and then it got bigger, and it's not big or anything, but it changed. And she said, oh, that's just a some kind of cyst, something. She said, has it ever like oozed or anything? And I'm like, no, nothing like that. It's just kind of like a little rounded little bump. And she said, yeah, we typically just ignore those. Not anything dangerous, you know, or unhealthy, or she said, we'll just look at it every year when you come in, and if there's any kind of change in it, we'll address it if it needs to be. But she said, I think we'll just, you know, it'll probably just be left alone for the rest of your life. So I said, okay. So that's all I needed from her, was to look at those two spots. And I had an interesting morning before I left for the doctor's appointment. I'm just going to sweep by this area right here, my instruction guide. I'm sure a lot of you know what that is. I was at my annual physical with my doctor just, last week, and he suggested that we go ahead and do this. So he put in the order for it. It showed up in the UPS a couple days later, very fast. Like, I wasn't expecting it that fast. And this morning I felt like it was the right time to do it, if you know what I mean. It was time, and I sealed it all back up. And on the way home from the dermatologist, I dropped that off at the UPS store. You know, and as I'm walking into the UPS store, I'm thinking, you know, these people that work in here, I'm sure they kind of recognize these boxes and they know what they are. But, you know, what do they feel about those things coming through the door? And I went over to the self-scan, you know, when you've already got something labeled. I mean, this thing, they make it really simple. The box that it comes in is reused. It has a peel-off shipping label, so you peel off the one that got it here, the label, and underneath it is the return shipping label. So they make it very simple. The box has a tape seal, so you just peel off the cover and close the lid back. The box is sealed all back up. The thing within the box is very tightly sealed up. Then it's inside of another bag. So it's all very, you know, you'd have to work hard to have any kind of remnants or spillage or anything like that. It's pretty well thought through and well engineered, but I still think those poor employees at the UPS store must be like, yeah, I'm not getting that one at the end of the day when it's time. You know, after you do the self-scan, it goes ahead and says, okay, you're good to go. And you put it in. They have a big receptacle there that the packages go into. And I noticed it has a big, very thick black bag liner in it. I don't know if at the end of the day that whole bag gets picked up, and because all those packages have to be handled individually. But I I wonder if they draw straws on who's got to pick up the blue and white boxes that come in, that because they know what's in them. But I mean, there's nothing at all. Like I said, it'd be really hard to get any kind of remnants or anything on the box itself, especially on the outside of the box. I'm sure it's happened. If they're sending out millions of these things, I'm sure it's happened. But so that's on its way back through UPS, and we'll see what comes back. Hopefully there's nothing bad going on there. But so a good morning. Dermatologist froze my face, and I got to poop in a box. Not very uncommon. Not a lot different from what I do a lot of days living in the rig, right? So it wasn't. I'm like, yeah, no big deal. Anything going on out there? What? Oh, I didn't hear that. Oh. Is there anything good smelling out that window? I do notice that the breeze is starting to feel like the temperature's coming down. You heard me right. You did. Yeah, I said the temperature's coming down. No more of that muggy stuff. Hopefully. I can't promise you because, like most weather forecasters, I'm not very good at it. Hello. Oh, no. What are you doing in that dirt garbage? Huh? Okay. That's my boy. That's my puppy. Okay. You're a big, big boy. Aren't you? You're a big, big boy. Oh. That's my puppy. That's my puppy. Huh. Hey, Lefty. Lefty, I'm talking to you. Hey, Buckwheat. There's my boy. Okay. All right. Oh, jeez. So we are packaging up Bruce's VEVOR 12.5-foot extendable ladder. And not Bruce's fault at all. Lives in Colorado, which is not really close to New York. Heavy box, long, size. So all of those things added up to me having to... You remember, like, I boasted about the new Postal Ground Advantage and how shipping that one EcoFlow power station only cost me like $11 and change? Yeah, not $11. This one is almost $70. So but this is all part of what I do to keep myself entertained, right? Giving away these kind of things keeps me entertained. What I'm going to do right now, Bruce, make sure you don't just throw out all of the packing material, because there's going to be a couple of doodads in there for you. I like doing this also, putting a couple of stickers in here, because stickers never hurt anyone. There we go. I was just working on fixing up this one sticker. I never liked the text that was down here, so I've changed it. I just spent like 2 hours putting text on the path, getting a good drop shadow, and a little bit of bevel highlighting on it, just on that text. I like it better than what it was before. I hired a guy off of Etsy to do that drawing. I can't do that kind of stuff. I probably could, but check back in a year and I might have it done. But this guy knocked it out like 48 hours. He had it back to me. You know, these are the results of all my fiddling around. All the rest of these, I've done the artwork for the rest of these. They're you know, more simplistic, and that's pretty involved. But the rest of these, I did the Lefty artwork years ago, and I've tweaked it along the way, you know, improved on his spot placements, you know. His spots have changed a little over the years, so I had to keep up with that and make sure his spots were matching, you know, the ones that are right under his eye there and up in his ears. So these are all the stickers. If y'all want stickers, please go over to our shop, thecampulenceman.com/shop, and you can get any of these stickers. And I do still have a small number of these iron-on patches left. I moved to a different sticker manufacturer, and I like them better. So these are all in stock, and I'm reordering these. I just placed an order with the new modified Campulence Man, so those should be coming in here in the next about 10 days. It usually takes. Grab some stickers. It really helps us out. I've told you how I like addressing the envelopes and putting my American flag stamp up in the corner, and give me some of that enjoyment by grabbing some stickers. Oh, come on. So let me do my usual crossing off of old barcodes. Oh, actually, I'm going to cover that whole sticker up with the new one. So, Bruce, this one is on the way. This is the original box. It came in with the original packing material, like the styrofoam and stuff. So it should be more than safe and secure. You're going to get all the tracking updates sent to your email. Should be there. It's a 4-day transit, they said. So you should be seeing this by the end of the week. So have fun with it. I hope it works out perfect for your rig. I'm sure it will. And remember, there's a little envelope inside there for you. All right, so we've got a problem this morning. I'm just really quickly, I took Lefty on his morning walk, and we're just walking up to the corner, you know, walking through the grass, and all of a sudden his right hind leg, he's doing this, like when he gets a pricker in his foot, same kind of thing, you know. So I'm like, okay, buddy. So I get up there, and he lets me investigate the paw, the right rear, and I feel nothing. And this is not a pricker tree, it's just like a maple tree, but there are a lot of branch falls, twig falls from the wind we've had, and I'm feeling in between the pads and stuff, and I don't feel anything, and then I didn't feel anything, but he yanked it from me and growled, you know. And then he tries to walk, and he can't walk on it. He's 3-legging it, so he lets me do it again. Same thing. He eventually growled and yanked the foot from me. So I'm, you know, we're maybe 100 yards up the road where we always walk under the nice thick green grass under this big giant, I think, maple tree. I don't know, big canopy tree. And so now he's not walking. He won't walk. And so I'm trying to figure out, now I got to get him back here. This is, you know, 8:30 in the morning, you know, just a little while ago. And so I'm trying to think, you know, should I like tie him to the tree or a light pole and run down here and get the car and go back? But I know he'll go bananas if I do that, and maybe whatever the problem is, he's going to irritate it even worse if I do that, if I leave him behind and run down the road. So and while right after this happens, like right as he's 3-legging it, he has to take a crap, and he does. And, you know, I don't know what kind of pain he was in at that point, but he had to go to the bathroom, so he did. And then when he finished, you know, I have to stop and bag it up, and he's kind of standing there, you know, and he kept kicking that one hind leg out. He kept kicking it like he does when he stepped on a pricker or something, identical kind of action. And so I don't know if it's because now the leg is, the leg is shaking, like, and so I don't know if it's the leg, if he's, a joint or something has gone haywire suddenly, or if it's the paw and something is stuck up in there, but I just can't feel it. So somehow I finally got him to go into a trot, and we trotted home, and he did it. We trotted down the road, So when he's in the trot, he can shift the weight off of that leg. We got home, and I got him up in the house, and he's laid down in the kitchen floor. I called my vet. I have an appointment at 1:30 this afternoon for the doctor from the urology department to put a borescope up my wee-wee, camera up my whizzer. And so so I have to be up there 1:30, and that appointment, it was very tough to get scheduled. It's not like I can cancel it and reschedule it next week. I had to call and bounce around for 30 people to get it scheduled. They originally had it at the end of October, and I luckily got it for today, so there's no way I can cancel this. So I called the vet. They have an opening. Earliest is at 1:30. So I'm looking at Mom. She knows I have the 1:30 doctor's appointment. She said, I'll take him. So she's taking Lefty. I'm going to drive my truck to the urologist for the camera job. And I'm looking at his paw. He's calmed down. I got him to drink a bunch of water. I gave him some chicken snacks. He ate them just like normal. He's fully functional. So this is something happened. We were walking under that tree, and we're just walking along, and I'm not really paying a lot of attention to him. We walk that path multiple times a day, or that area of grass, nice thick green grass under this big maple-ish tree, and all of a sudden he's fine, and then he's not, from 1 second, and I think he has stepped on. I think there's something up in there that I can't feel. We don't have prickers and stuff like they do out in the desert around here. I don't know what it could be. It would almost have to be metallic, like a staple or a nail or something small enough that it's in there and I can't feel the head of it. And from what I'm watching right now, that paw looks like it has swollen up tremendously, unless I'm bonkers, but the one of the toes and the whole paw overall looks like gigantic. It looks like it has swollen up tremendously, and we've just been back here maybe a half an hour, and as we're sitting there and I finally get him calmed down, who pulls up out front but Rolly Door, because the garage door of the house is broken for the last 6 weeks. We've had to open and close it with a stick to help it, and today was the day that they were finally coming, right as I have an injured dog laying here. I can't help clear the garage because I'm pacifying Lefty. So it's one guy and Mom cleared the garage. The guy jumped in Mom's car and moved it out in the road so he could get his pickup truck up in here. So talk about piling it on, right? Oh, God. I mean, I came back here with him and I'm shaking from, first of all, because Lefty's hurt. Secondly, because I know I've got a video I got to put together today. The drawing for the ladders due out today. I have a good portion of that video that still needs to be shot. I have a camera going up my whizzer today. Lefty's injured. The Rolly Door guy's coming. All of this stuff happening right now, right this minute. And I'm just shaking with the, oh my gosh, I can't believe, you know, just trying to figure out how I'm going to navigate all this stuff. But, you know, we've got it figured out. I just need my lefty fixed. He's just laying there by the front door. I brought his big pillow. He's not moving. He's not trying to move. I went into the garage to make sure that the young man who's doing the door, to ask if he needed help. I was out there for 4 seconds. I came back in. The guy said he was fine. Lefty got a whiff of somebody in the garage, sat up, started to want to bark and all that. And I'm like, oh, great. Mom comes back and I'm like, shut the door quick. I don't want Lefty smelling the guy because he's going to start going ape shit, you know, because there's a stranger in the garage. But he's just laying down there. So I'm going to go back down. Not my greatest day right now, this minute. Not my greatest day. I'm gonna do this giveaway. Poor Lefty. I feel so bad. Oh, let me start the screen capture here. I'm sorry, I am not in the greatest frame of mind right now. We're here for the giveaway for the, wait a minute, this is the wrong one. Today is the 16.5 foot. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so I've got the URL. I'm gonna paste it in here. Let's start that. Now I'm gonna go over and, okay, load comments. I'm gonna go to Patreon to get all the patrons that get automatically entered into all the giveaways. A little bit low key right now. I'm worried about my boy. Bonus and extra chances, that goes in there. Okay. So back up here, this is VEVOR 16.5 ladder. I'm gonna copy that. We got one winner. Exclude duplicates. Hashtag VEVOR. The prize, I already copied that. Confirm. No block list. Let's do the countdown animation. We'll do sounds, 5 seconds. Confirm. Ready, start. Here we go. 4, 3, 2, 1. Stephanie Wilkes. Her comment was VEVOR 16.5 ladder. Again, clear and to the point. A lot of you folks know exactly what you're doing when you enter your comments. So Stephanie Wilkes, congratulations. You are the winner of the VEVOR 16.5 foot stainless steel ladder with the optional hooks, the J hooks on top. Go ahead, get in touch with me, send me an email, thecampulenceman@gmail.com, or you can go to my website, thecampulenceman.com, and use the contact me form. That sends me an email. So go ahead, get in touch, get me your address. I'll get this thing boxed up. I did save the original box and everything for that, so it'll be shipped securely to your home. And thank you all for being here and being a part of the giveaway. I'm sorry I'm a little low-key right now. I'm worried about Lefty. And stick around for more upcoming giveaways. Let's get back to the video. All right, you want to hear a good one? So we get ready to head out. Mom's going to take Lefty to the vet. I'm going to drive my truck up to the doctor's appointment. I get in the truck, turn the key, nothing. My truck has never, ever, ever done that before. It can sit for weeks, months, get in, turn the key, and it cranks. Not today. The wait to start light didn't come on. You know, you turn the key, ignition on the diesel, you wait for the light to go out before you crank it. The light didn't come on. I'm hearing a tick, 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 tick noise coming from under the hood. my voltage gauge, which normally when I have the key in the on position and the glow plugs are firing, it's normally up, 13, and as the glow plugs fire, the batteries actually go up a little bit, once the batteries are woken up. And it went like, I think the lowest reading is 8. It went bloop, bloop, and back down. Either my batteries are so dead, which I don't know how that could happen. I have that device that keeps my crank batteries topped up using the solar. It's probably been 6 weeks since, I've driven it since we've been back here. I had to go do something. I can't think of what it was, but it's never, ever done anything like this before. And when I needed it today, nothing. So I'm like, saying words, saying words. And I come back into Mom and I'm like, Ma, the truck's dead. I don't know what's going on. I popped the hood, I checked the battery cable on the one battery. It's tight, it's got 2 batteries, one under the hood and one down on the frame. So I don't know what's going on with it, but not gonna run for me today. So Mom says, well, just drop us off at the vet, go to your appointment, in her car, and when I'm done. But I'm like, Mom, I don't know how long it's going to take. She said, Howard had that done before. It was like 10 minutes. And she was pretty right. I actually sat longer in the waiting room than the procedure took. The doctor came in, and I've never met this doctor before. This is the first time. And the reason that I'm going for this, I've had microscopic blood show up in my urine for the last few years in my regular physical. And it's not a huge amount, but it's enough to trigger further investigation. And so far this year, since I've been back, I've had an MRI, a CT scan, an ultrasound, and now I've just had this borescope up my Whistler do, okay? I think I might have chucked it out. I had a report that came from, I think it came from the CT scan. So the urologist, the urology department was ordering one of these scans. My doctor ordered the last one I got, which was, see, I get them confused. One of them's in the round donut kind of machine, and then the last one I took is you're like laying in a tube, and it makes all these massive clunking noises and all that. I forget. I think that's the CT scan, the one in the tube that's very loud. He ordered that based on results from the MRI, I believe. So it's very obviously I'm confused over it all because they're chasing down. I've had this flank pain right here that's been coming and going for the last couple years that I've been complaining of. So that's one of the things that they're trying to chase down. The urology department's trying to chase down the microscopic blood. So this final scope, camera scope, this is like the last step. And if they can't find any, because so far everything has come out perfect. Everything, the scans, I have no issues. But what they did find from one of the, either the CT or the MRI, I have a small umbilical hernia and I have a hiatal hernia. So we found that out, and I'd been complaining about this pain I kind of had down here last year, and my doctor seemed like he kind of, shrugged it off. Well, I was right, I actually did a video call with my doctor just a couple days ago because I got that report came back, and then I didn't hear anything from anybody, and I'm reading, 2 different hernias I'm reading, and nobody's contacting me as a follow-up. So I called my doctor, or I messaged, and I said, does this merit an office visit? What does this mean to me moving forward? And so we did a video call, And he explained to me that what these are, and they were both listed as stable because they were the same as the last time I had imaging done. I don't know how many years. I had some imaging done last year, and so they haven't changed in that amount of time. So they call them stable, and they're small, it also said. So he said that they're not, they're not of concern at this point. If he told me some symptoms that I could look out for that would cause us to have to look at them more so. But right now, he said there's really nothing that we need to do. I've already learned that, drink a lot of water, don't lay down after you've eaten, all of those things that the hiatal hernia, the one that's up here where your stomach has moved upwards, that's the one that'll give you the heartburn and all that. I've already learned how to control that. And the hiatal hernia, or the umbilical hernia down here, that he said they're not uncommon at all. It's just the severity of them. Some people will have like a bulge, and I don't have that. And he said, control your meal size, which I'd already figured that out, controlling my meal size. And so he said, it sounds like you've, figured out a lot of the suggestions that I would have made. You've already figured out on your own. So, so this thing today, this borescope, is the final step. And the doctor explained to me, she said, if we don't see anything with this today, then basically you're going to be one of those patients who has microscopic blood in their urine, and you're just going to always have it, with no downside. It's not causing me any issues. I've never seen actual blood like in my urine. It's microscopic. It's actually on the scale of acceptable amounts. It's very, towards the bottom end. I have noticed that in the lab results. But so she got in there and she said, everything looks perfect. I see nothing here at all. And so she said, next year I've got a follow-up scheduled for a year from now, and we'll do another urine test, and if the levels are the same, then we're just gonna, maybe do a 2-year after that. But so I've been through a lot for myself, a lot of medical. I've had more appointments in the time that we've been here than, like, oh my gosh, that I've had for the last 10 years combined. It's just craziness. But all the testing and everything has come back that I don't have any big major problems, which is, the upside to all of this. But so today, made it to my appointment, dropped Mom and Lefty off at the vet, got to my appointment, got that finished, got back in the car, zipped back to the vet. Mom is sitting in the room. Lefty's in the back with them. They were watching him walk and everything, because in the meantime, Lefty kind of returned to normal before we took him to the vet. He's up and down the stairs. He's jumping up on the bed. But his paw and one toe, she said, is definitely showing redness and some swelling. She said it's possible that he got bit and stepped on a bug. And I didn't even think of that. That happened to him once down at the beach. He stepped on a bee and got stung, and that swelled his foot up, and he was, gimpy on the foot. Because after we got back and he got in the house and he kind of mellowed out and chilled out, after about an hour, he was back up and walking around and showing no signs of that anything ever happened. But he does show some swelling, and the vet confirmed that. So she gave me some, see, I can hear him walking around down there right now. She gave me some anti-inflammatory meds to help to bring that down. See, he sounds like he's back to normal, right? So this was a heck of a day. It's now 4 o'clock. I'm finishing up the video that you're going to be watching here. I'm sorry that it's kind of a clunky one. The drawing, I didn't get the drawing done last night, so I was planning on doing it today, and then all of this happened, so I had to do the drawing when I wasn't in my most excited frame of mind like I usually am when I do the drawing, and I apologize for that. And so tomorrow I'm going to go out and we're going to pop the hood on the rig and see if we can figure out, hey puppy, see, he's walking normal and everything's good. You got all 4 wheels working good there, brother? Oh, what a day. We'll be out there tomorrow and figure out what's going on with the rig. First thing, test the voltage on the batteries, right? See what's going on. If they show that they've dropped down, I can't imagine why, but that's where we're going to start to check the battery voltage. That's the only thing I can think of, is that the batteries have nosedived for some reason. I don't know what would cause it. You know, I didn't leave the headlights on or anything. But I have that device that keeps those batteries charged. It can go up to 15 amps if needed. You know, it's a trickle charger that's hardwired into the rig, and it uses my solar power bank to keep the crank batteries topped up. So up to 15 amps if needed. So those batteries should always be fresh and ripe. Maybe that device puked, you know, it's possible. Maybe it went bad. There he is. How you feeling? Huh? You feeling okay? Tell everybody you're feeling okay. Say, yes, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm not doing a very good job of Lefty talking right now. You good boy? You good puppy? Say, sorry to scare you, Dad. Not my fault. Sorry to scare you. Right rear leg. Right rear leg. Everybody remember that. That's the one we're going to be watching. That's my boy. We got something going on here in the sink. I don't know what this is. Trying to get this to go away. That's so cool. I got some food for Lefty that came packaged with dry ice in the box, and I just was like getting ready to break the box down, and there was the bags, and I picked one up and it still had a chunk of ice in it. I thought was ice, and I just like went to rip the bag open and grab the piece of ice, and all of a sudden my hand felt funny. I didn't really touch it directly, but maybe kind of I did. And then I saw it said it's dry ice, like all these warnings and stuff. So I think you see that piece right there? It's not very big, but how do you get it to melt? Like, how long is this gonna lay here and make horror movie backdrops? I'm not breathing it. I'm standing far away from it because I don't think you're supposed to breathe that, are you? I don't know what that is exactly, but it sure looks really cool. Gosh. Oh, look at the little puffers. It's like blowing smoke rings. Should enter it into one of those vape contests. Oh, look at that. Well, it doesn't take much to get me excited, does it? 10:30. Okay, I got to get ready. I'm going over to the DMV. I have an appointment to get one of those enhanced driver's license. I guess that's what it's called. So I've got all of the needed documents. You know, you've got to prove who you are. I think to a federal level is what makes this kind of license better. You're providing documentation that's like a step above if you were just providing it at the state level of what they accept. So I'm just going to go through my envelope real quick. I set this all up like a month and a half ago and, you know, made the appointment, and now I haven't really thought about it again. So I'm going to go check my envelope and make sure that I'm sure I got all the documents together. I just want to go double check it because I got to leave out of here in like 5 minutes. Thankfully, I got it at the closest DMV, which is maybe a 10-minute drive from here. So I'm going to have to leave this sitting here gurgling. I'll go warn Mom about it.